start the recording if possible. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So advanced market structure. So before we get to the advanced market structure, I'll just give a very short lectures on the very simple one. So in a bullish market, right, we all do understand that markets keeps giving us higher high and higher low, higher high, higher low in the bullish market, right? And in the bearish markets, price keeps making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. So this is a bearish market. Now, to understand the advanced market structure, we need to know something we call range structure. So we have range structure here. Now, what exactly is range structure? So let's look at range structure first. Now, we'll be using a bullish scenario in here. Okay, so in a bullish scenario, right, price makes a higher low, right? As soon as price takes this off, we have a BMS to the upside, right? We have a BMS here to the upside. Now, this BMS is indicating that price is bullish. Now, to understand the concept of range structure, right? After we've gotten a BMS, price would be giving us little structures, and this structures that price is creating here, right, has not given us a deep pullback into this range that's being created here. It keeps giving us this little structure around this area here. So this is what we call range structure. All this is called range structure. Now, after a range structure is being created, price either gives us a shallow pullback before giving us a very deep one, causing a complex corrective wave. So this is a complex corrective wave, having both shallow pullback as well as a deep pullback. This is a complex corrective wave. Now, so this is one side of range structure on the bullish side. Now let's look at it from the bearish side. So price gave us this low, and then it took out this low here. So price took out this low here, giving us a BMS. Now, after price took out this low here, it started giving us this little structure here. This little structure here that price creates is also called the range structure. Now, so price can either just give us a deep pullback without necessarily giving us this complex corrective wave here. This complex corrective wave here. It can either give us the deep pullback or give us this complex corrective wave, right? Now, this complex corrective wave will also, to understand how this whole complex corrective wave operates, you need to understand what is called mitigation. Now, with mitigation, okay, so let me, before we move on, let me just write complex corrective wave or pullback. So all right, so this is complex corrective wave. And then with the complex corrective wave, initially I said it comprises of both shallow, this is a shallow corrective wave, and this is a very deep one into this range that was created here. So this is a shallow corrective wave, and this is the deep corrective wave. Both of them will create the complex corrective pullback. Now with this particular one, with this particular one, this is just a deep pullback. So this is not a complex corrective wave, it's just a deep pullback. Now let's go to mitigation. To understand mitigation, when price, let's say on a bearish market, as soon as price took out this low, it started giving us a range structure, right? Now this range structure also gave us another sub range structure, right? Now because this range has not been mitigated, bro, sorry about the noise, I'm in the office, right? So because this price has not seen a price retrace back into this range, it is still exposed. It means that this range here is unmitigated. So this whole range here, from this high here, to this low here, is unmitigated, right? Unmitigated. So it's an unmitigated structure, right? Now, not just this zone is unmitigated, the main structure that price took out this low here is also not mitigated as well. So at this zone here, from this high here to this low here, this range is also not mitigated. So that is also on mitigation. Now, this is how, okay, so let me just take this one off. I hope you all understand the concepts behind on mitigation. Now, to understand the complex corrective wave, right? This is what usually happens. You have price respect this fair zone here, give a lower low, and then come deep into this range here before dropping, meaning that it has also respected this first range structure here, gave us a lower low, and then also respected the range that was initially created here. This is the complex corrective wave. So with the complex corrective wave, you need to understand unmitigated zones or mitigation in terms of price mitigation, right? Okay, and this is mitigation, or this is mitigation of range structure. This example I gave is mitigation of range structure. You can also have price creating this internal structure. Before it took out this low here, there will be structure here that's been created, and that is what we call the internal structure. So let me quickly go through the internal structure. So we see we have this structure here. Before price sought to take out this low, it will be creating its own structure here. After taking this main low, we'll start with the range structure, right? Now, so this low was taken here. This low was taken here. Now, this whole structure that was created in here, this structure that was created in here, before the break of this low here, right, is what we call the internal structure. This is what we call the internal structure, right? Okay. This is what we call internal structure. Now, this low here, that price took out here, is what we call the external liquidity. All right. And now, this high here, this lower high that was created, before taking this external liquidity is the major liquidity. So we are not expecting price to take this liquidity here. Okay, so this is also the major liquidity. This is the internal structure. This is the range structure. So now, We also have mitigation of the internal structure. And this is how it happens. So let's say with this particular formation here, you could tell that price after with every defined range, it gives a deep pullback back into the range. So from this, okay, hold on. From this high here to this low here, price gave a defined pullback into this range here. From this high to this low here, price gave a defined pullback into this range. From this high to this low, price gave a defined pullback. From this high to this low, it means that within this structure range, from this low to this high, or from this high to this low, before price took out external liquidity, price was mitigating all these zones. So all this zone here is mitigated. So the likely point of interest that will be suitable to continue this bearish move is from this last mitigated zone here. That is the last mitigated zone. And then the AC of that last mitigated. So you can have price actually come in, creates maybe liquidity around this end here, and then we have price drop down. That is not to say price cannot use the primary point of interest. Now I'll come to points of interest, right? So with this particular mitigation of the internal structure, this is how it formed. And then this is fully mitigated internal structure. So this is the last point of mitigation. Now, okay, so okay, right. Now, there's also another instance where, let's say, on a bearish market, we'll be using bearish markets, and pardon me if you are not too happy with the fact that we are using just the sell side, but you can just reverse the same logic to the bullish side. Okay, so let's say before price takes out this external liquidity, right? Price gives us this a defined pullback, and then it ends this defined pullback. It fails to give us a defined pullback, and then it gives us this structure here, and then breaks this low. The main external liquidity starts giving us range structure. So this give us a break of structure. So here's the major liquidity. This is the external liquidity, right? We are in a bearish market. Now, let's pay close attention to the internal structure, the formation of the internal structure. From this high to this low, price gave a defined pullback into that range. From this very high to this low here, price gave a defined pullback after breaking this high, this low here, sorry. It gave a defined pullback back into the range, just as we've been doing. You know, price is fractal, so it's just the same logic that happens also on the higher time frame. Just as we have gotten a BMS on this higher time frame, we are expecting price to give us a defined pullback back into this whole range, right? That is the same logic that also happens with the fact that price in the on the internal structure, the formation of the internal structure, it kept breaking lows and then giving us a defined pullback until this particular point where price failed to give us a defined pullback back into this range. It meant that the mitigation ended at this particular point. So this high that was created here, that failed to come back into the defined range, will be liquidity. Meaning that your points of interest, even though we may be having AC candles here, right? These are not high probability areas, right? But then the main point of interest that you would want to join the sell move should be from this last point of mitigation. Sorry. This last point of mitigation here. Here will be the last point of mitigation, and that is mitigation of internal structure. And that is the mitigation of the internal structure there. Oops. Okay, so bro, let's head to the charts. Let's show some examples. Okay, so let me see if we can, let's just get a random pair. Let's see. Okay, okay. Any pair will do. Okay, so let's say Euro card. Okay. So Euro card. Now let's go to so we can understand this whole structure. Okay, so after, okay, hey, let me get a nice okay, so lovely. After price took out after price took out uh, after price took out this low here, right? You could tell price give us this little structure, and this is what we call range structure. So all this is on here. From this structure here that was created to this point here is what we call range structure. This is the range structure, and these are the internal structures that was created, right? So with the logic of the mitigation, right, internal mitigation, you could tell that this was the last point that price mitigated this zone here. After this high was created, price gave us a deep pullback down here, broke here. This creation here is a whole complex corrective wave that I was talking about. This is the complex corrective wave structure I was talking about. Give us first a shallow pullback to test this zone here, give us a lower low, and then came back for that high here. So more of like a combination of shallow and then a very deep pullback. So this is the complex corrective wave, right? Okay, so all right, so that's it. So that's one example. Let's see if we can get more examples. Okay, from even as price to this low here, as price to this low, it gave us lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Bro, now we're saying 50, because how many of you are going to benefit from it?
Yeah.
All right, sorry for the noise and stuff. I'm in the office at the moment. Okay, so yeah, after price took out this particular low here, this was the external liquidity here. That price started giving us the structure that was created here without a definite pullback into the range. So these structures that were created here are the range structure. There's a range structure that was created here. There. Before now, price gave us this definite pullback into the range, right? Now, let me show you another example of, okay, so just here. After price took out this low here. When I zoom in, this from after price took out this low, price started giving us lower low, lower high, and lower low. So these are all the range structures, even though it's not that visible on this particular time frame before this definite pullback here. Now, price even failed to mitigate any of this zone here. These are all internal structures. And then there was the last point of mitigation here around this area here. So this area had not been mitigated, even with this pullback here. So likely this will be more of like a complex corrective wave should price do this, give us this move here, lower low, and then later come back to mitigate this zone here or give a definite pullback down. That would have been a complex corrective wave here. This would be a complex corrective wave here. All right. So I believe everybody understands the concept of market structure, both the simple or the normal market structure, as well as this advanced approach. Thank you so much for your attention, and then keep the likes coming, as well as subscribe to this channel for more informative insights of the markets as well. All right. Take care.